Hello from Sweden.
Hello from Manchester.
Hello from Cyprus. Hermano, me come from Kingston, Jamaica. One love. Rice and peas. Don't forget the plantain reggae sauce in the side. Good, that's me caught up with the Alliance chat. Oh yeah, we're doing a video. Okay, now with that out of the way, let's get into today's Marvel Contest of Champions video. This one is a 5 versus 5. 5 things Kabam have done wrong or haven't done very well, and 5 things that they have done very well or improved and were quite happy about. My shaky hands are happy about the 5 versus 5, and we're going to articulate and have a look at those different sections that do constitute improvements and as well things that Kabam still need to work on. So let battle commence! So let's kick things off with 5 things that Kabam don't do very well or get wrong. The first thing is all about new synergies and new champions. Yeah, it's fantastic to have new champions as well as fun champions that everybody loves. But the synergies are the thing that cause an issue in 2 ways. Some of these new champion synergies can be considered to be overpowered, and that does present an issue, especially with the case and fact with Blade and a few others, for example, that do mean that the champions that they are solely behind as grouping together are making one champion too powerful. And the next thing, and probably the most crucial thing, is that it's making old champions seem to be a little bit better, where a lot of the community would prefer each champion that with the change of the meta of the game are made a little bit more stronger, rather than having to rely on getting the new champions to improve the synergies. It does mean that players will go, oh right, so my old man Logan is going to be better if I go for and maybe put a load of units towards trying to get Sabretooth when he came out into the game pretty fresh in a crystal. So therefore any new champion that comes out I have to get, because it's going to make my champion that I'm getting about 20 times of the best. From Kabam's perspective, that's great. It does mean that a lot of players maybe go towards spending a lot more money to get new champions. But for the player base, they may be waiting a long time to get those certain champions that are going to improve their old champions. In my opinion, Kabam should put together a regular amount of buffing each year, especially in line with change with the meta of the game. So 1 a month would be a good thing to do. Old champions being brought towards the new kind of standard and facing off against certain content, unless Kabam are telling us, oh, you can only really use these section of champions for this type of content, these type of champions for that content, because it very much feels like that is indeed the case. Next up are champion changes and communication. So champion changes and communication are 2 separate things, but the whole section really should be classed as communication. And that is in line with things that Kabam change in game, things that are coming up and other stuff like that. Yes, on the forum and also in-game mail does let us know about certain changes, but there are other changes afoot that always do ruffle a lot of feathers. If we go back in time to the 12.0 time, when, you know, we made a big deal about it. The contest was not as it used to be, and it changed quite dramatically on that fateful day when we got 12.0 released. We are now up to like 19.2 or something, so a lot of things have come and gone. But there used to be a time where Doctor Strange, which is just down here, as well as Scarlet Witch over there, were considered to be amazing champions. And communications of changes were then Kabam saying, right, well, you cannot use Archangel, which was a fantastic champion for stun immunity. Some kind of inner workings with that and his ability did mean that it kind of undermined something Kabam put in, which in some ways I reckon Kabam will go, oh, that's an exploit, but that is not the case. And even though Kabam justified the reasons for making the changes to Archangel, a lot of the community were a bit annoyed with that. I think some of them got the idea that if you do something, you stick by it and you release it and it's there. But to then change something as you go, yeah, it does show some sort of improvement, but whether or not there's an argument between some players thinking it's fine as it is to be changed. Some players go, leave it as it is, you put it in there, it was intended for a reason, and Kabam going, no, we need to change it in line with improving stuff, you not exploiting us. It's a very kind of mixed bag of communication not going quite so well. But there have been several times that the player base has got in contact with Kabam and said, look, if you start a committee, you start a communication, you start a council of some kind, it does mean that the players can say, you know, what have you got lined up, Kabam? Or Kabam saying, in a month's time, we're going to change this, this, and this. those people that represent the community at different stages in the game can go, I don't agree with that one. I think everyone is not going to enjoy that. Maybe vote on it, or maybe everybody gets to vote on it. So those changes feel like, hey, we're happy with that. Go right ahead. You've got our backing. Well, at the moment, it doesn't seem that that is the case. And you just need to go to the rating system on the apps and the app stores to find out that is indeed the same case and people sharing those thought processes. Next up, let's talk about the ticketing system. This is the thing that is a big issue for players. The way that this is run is not in a flexible way. And when I say flexible, it's flexible towards people's individual problems. You obviously will have it specific so that then Kabam can tailor make their response to you. But then it goes a little bit far in that everybody's problem is not going to be the same. It is going to differ from player to player and what it's entirely focused on. Everyone has so many different problems, but the script that comes back to you and the response is never always what you want to see or hear. It is not helpful. The most concerning things that I do see from time to time as I do Marvel Contest of Champions news, I spend a lot of time on the forum and I'll find things and articles where people have said that they've raised a ticket but haven't got the correct response or a good enough response to their issue. It does seem that it's very generic, and it doesn't seem that there's much search process actually done to rectify whatever players' issues are. Now, I do agree on the forum that things to do with account banning should be dealt with through this system here. However, though, the system does need a lot of work, and starting that process for a player by going, hey, I've got a problem, I raised a ticket, and then somebody then says on the forum, a representative of Kabam says, right, okay, we weren't not able to answer here, go back and do the ticket again. It is unfortunately a really round, disappointing system and circle that allows players to then just go, oh, well, I can't really be bothered with this. I just need to get on and play, or do this or do that. Either way, I've got an issue, it hasn't been resolved. And that seems to be the case at the moment. Now, I totally get that is the game, but at the same time, it's just repetitive. There's no change to this. There's no added extra to this that makes it a little bit more different. Obviously, in other games, there could be something of a different dynamic, but having that kind of repetitive nature does see very little evolution from the start point to where we are now. There certainly hasn't been a different type of game mode added that has a different type of controls or something that is different in any kind of way. And I'm not saying there should be or shouldn't be, but when you look at fights that we did against Thanos, it showed a different dynamic in the way that you had to play. Inverted controls was cool and was different, but at the same time, is it something in the future that they could do? Yes, no. Is there something that could be done soon? Hopefully, as it would be nice to just make the game a little bit more fresher from a playing perspective. And finally, and the most common thing that Kabam get wrong, and that is game stability. Now, I think a lot of people will kind of jump on me and say that, hey, well, they've got their own server-related problems. And yeah, I completely get that. That is life. Server problems happen all the time. But at the same time, it shouldn't happen quite so much for a game that is highly rated, highly respected, and also is meant to have a very strong positioning, especially in a place like Vancouver. So there's going to be so much stronger internet. The place that I've started working at has a 1 GB lease line, which is a fantastic thing to have, but there are things that are on offer that are so much better, and you think that a company like that would have a better standard of internet. If they're in serviced office accommodation, they may not have their own lease line. And that's something that is a must with any business, especially if you're doing things in the tech sector, if you're doing creative stuff, if you're doing YouTube, so many things. I've heard, I know of companies that have and do stuff with YouTube that only have a 20 megabyte upload, and that's completely ridiculous. In my house, I have a 20 megabyte upload, which is for YouTube and streaming, but their business is about 10 times the size of mine. So you kind of go, right, well, a strong internet connection is key. That's one thing. And then you need stability with other different things. Now, again, respect is due that the way that the game is used with different engines, with the different types of providers, with Google and with iTunes and kind of Apple, that does mean that there are real big issues and there is contracts and maybe they're signed up to something. I don't know the specifics. I've heard things from time to time in the way they work it, but You think after the first time that things weren't working out, maybe on a game engine or maybe the way things are hosted on different servers, that you then look at your R&D and then you develop something further. That would be the best thing, to create stability in a game like this. And it is one of the biggest reasons it turns off players, and players go, right, well, I've been playing for years, this is getting ridiculous, I'm going to play something else, and that's why they jump ship. Stability is really important for people. Consistency is really important. They want to see a functioning game. They thrive on it. Loads of different games I've played over the years, and this one being so inconsistent is a little bit frustrating from time to time. But in any case, that has been the 5 things that Kabam have not done right. Let's try and make this a little bit of a more positive end and look at 5 things that Kabam have done right for Marvel Contest of Champions. So let's begin. 5 positive things. Start with the Glory Store. Right, so there was a time when the Glory Store was not a thing and it was not in game. This provided nowhere to go to buy any of the stuff that we really need resources wise. So when the Glory Store came around, it was a little bit pricey with the glory spend, but it was something. The next thing is it was then improved. Pricing was sorted out, the extent of what you can buy and the amount that you got back. It was amazing to see this. From health potions, for Alliance health potions, for things like tier 2 alpha, which was added in at a later date, tier 1 alpha, tier 4 basic. Amazing to see this stuff in this particular store that players can easily obtain resources. Next up, peak milestones. I see a lot of positive kind of response to peak milestones. Now, I thought there was going to be a lot of negative, but at the same time, you know, you never know. Until something's released, feedback is normally very mixed. But peak milestones have been received as a very positive thing for the game. It really inspires you as an Alliance member to kind of work hard in order to get these things done. And at the same time, there is a bit of negative with the fact that your glory is going to be a huge chunk and you're going to get it at the end of the 5-day event. But players are being smart and they're budgeting correctly and being patient about what they buy. In particular, the addition of a peak milestone for Summoner Advancement has got players a lot more excited about doing these things, especially because you get double the amount of stuff that you normally get. So it's great to see peak milestones and also rank rewards being more obtainable, especially if you're working hard to be in a better alliance. Next up is alliances. Alliances are great, fantastic additions. Now, again, people may kind of go, yeah, so what, alliances? I come from a time when I first started off playing the game that there were no alliances and it was very much a solo based thing. Before alliances were introduced, it was really darn exciting, and the way that the event side of things and alliance questing and alliance wars have kind of come into fruition. There are a few kind of criticisms with alliance wars and maybe some over the years with alliance questing, but at the same time it is good to see these types of things, the types of things you do with help, the events that have been recently changed, Guardian use, Villain use, Avengers use. All these different types of usage-based events are really positive to see a change in the game. Alliances as well emphasize camaraderie, so it is a great thing to have friends in the game and also make friends out of the game as well, especially using apps like the Line app. Next up, login calendars. Now, again, I come from a time when they didn't have login calendars. A lot of other games got this in a lot earlier than Kabam did when putting this in for Marvel Contest of Champions. This should have been something that was put in a long time ago. There's still other games that work a lot better for login rewards, consistency with login rewards, and give back a lot to players. You know, for example, I'm not dropping in names, a game that I've been sponsored to play before called Dungeon Hunter Champions. So that is a great game for the kind of reward system and coming in. I think just from logging in, you get like 3 or 4 bits of mail with claimable items. Anyway, I'm not going to talk about another game, but it did take them a long time to get login calendars for this game. I'm really happy that they got them in. Some months you'll see some really naff stuff being put in here, but there's going to be some months when you see something really darn good, especially when it comes up to a birthday, a special kind of, well, event like a Chinese New Year. Decent stuff does go into here. For example, a full tier 2 alpha is coming in this month, which is amazing and I really need it. Final thing is resource grinding and availability of that. So as you know, we've had improvement to the Clash events, tier 4 basic, the alpha, and as well the tier 4 class catalyst crystal one. In any case, it's good to see improvement milestones. So players are grinding out and not feeling that they're not getting quite so much. 1.1 mil was like, hey, that's great for a tier 4 basic. Can we have another? Now it's a case you can, and I'm pretty happy about that. When it comes to gold, I'm finding that I'm not dropping a lot of gold recently. I've just had loads, which is fantastic. I think a lot of players are experiencing the same. They're never in short supply of gold, which, again, so much happy about this nowadays, as we used to have a time where there was a tier 1 alpha problem, there was a tier 4 basic problem, and there was, just a whole load of problem with resources. But now things have changed. And as well, with event questing, you're finding, especially on uncollected, you're going to be getting towards slowly the end game content kind of champions and able to rank them up a bit more. With tier 5 basics being on offer, we've also got fully formed tier 4 class catalyst. We've also got progression, hopefully, to the next 6-star. There's so many things going on that are going to improve champions by doing uncollected, and as well, to a degree, master, and to a lesser degree, heroic. So there we have it, guys. That has been 5 things that Kabam have done wrong and 5 things they have done right. You may completely disagree with the list, but it's an assessment of the last 4 years thereabouts in the game. What are your thoughts? What's your takeaway from this? Do you think that they've got a lot more work to do? Do you think that as long as they get a couple of things done on the wrong list, that it's going to make everything all right? What are your thoughts? Leave them in the comment section below. I've been RichTheMan. If you enjoyed the video, hit that like button and subscribe for more Marvel Contest of Champions based content. And as always, I shall catch you on the flip side. Bye bye for now.